Okay, everybody. Thank you for coming to Digression Sessions Volume 8. As always, my name is Prester John Andrews. I think you guys know me by now. So today with me, I have three special guests who have all been on the podcast in the past. I think you guys probably know them, you love them. If you guys want to sound off real quick, and then we're going to get into a 2025 retrospective.
All right,
Whoever wants
I'm
to start.
ancient. Yeah, I'm ancient Problemz, returning guest, and I'm here for the ride.
I'm Lirpa Strike, also returning guest. Yep.
And I'm Monia Ali, also returning guest. I mean, yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, thanks for coming back, everybody. It should be a fun one. So, 2025, what a year, huh?
Yeah, it sure went by fast.
Year.
Yeah, Lirpa, I think you're the only one who was there for the last retrospective that I did for this. Like, what would you say? Like, what do you think we got right when we were doing predictions, if you remember? Like, what surprised you? It's been an interesting year.
Yeah, I think I think at least a couple of us predicted some political violence and assassinations, and I think we definitely got that.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big one, I think. What else? I remember Yakubian Ape, and you had talked about country music and like a George W. Bush or George W. Bush era sort of patriotism returning. And I was wondering about that one. I was really into country music at the time, but my phase lasted approximately till the end of that podcast. So I don't know if country music has made a big comeback in 2025 or not. I don't know if that one was right, but I'm curious.
Well, me and Ancient talked about this at one point on a podcast, and I don't think it exactly came to fruition per se. I don't know.
Well, all right. So I have a take if I can jump in. So yeah, that's an episode we did together, a blogcast. It's on my Substack, and it's called "The Gribbles Strike Back," and it's a reference to Richard Hanania likes to blame everything on the right on what he calls Dale Gribbles voters, and they're basically people who listen to Joe Rogan a lot. And my prediction, or I think what we landed on, is we spoke a lot about the band Bill Murray and how they had basically come out with, the guy had put out only metal albums until basically a few years ago, and he hooks up with all these producers in Nashville, and they're like, we're gonna do a Bill Murray country album. So they have all these down-tuned guitars that are super heavy and distorted, but then there's almost not the feel, but all the same instruments you would get in that stupid millennial stomp clap music. So you get the string section and the banjo and the mandolin and all this shit, but with chugs, okay? And I think we did get country, but repurposed with rap, Big X the Plug, Post Malone. We had already had the Beyonce country album or whatever. But I think that there's no going back. It's kind of asking if we would have another barbershop quartet era, or ragtime, if that would make a comeback. But ragtime's not coming back. But you could see slowed and reverb ragtime coming back, or there would be funk, ragtime funk, or something weird.
That sounds pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, it does.
And that's my take, is it did come back, but it reanimated, respawned in the bodies of what was around in 2024 and 25, and not someone from the 70s.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I remember the other one that makes me think of is that that country, I think he was a rapper originally, but he's a country singer, Jelly Roll, who's become
Jelly Roll,
a popular mainstream guy.
Sure.
I was a little while back, I was doing technical support, working this event. It was there's a bunch of country music playing, because it was that type of stuff that was being sold. And I remember some of his songs being played, and they were saying, oh yeah, this is Jelly Roll. And it's this sounds like bro country plus, like you said, stomp clap. It was very
there's a distinct we're on a boat drinking a hard seltzer vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. That's in there.
I think that's great. Bring back the stomp clap in a new iteration.
You're a Stomp clap defender too?
I am.
I recently
I-
listened to Mumford and Sons just to remind myself.
I'm kind of
Whoa.
a reluctant Stomp clap defender just because, like, it's not my favorite thing. I don't throw it on that often, but I do kind of sometimes feel nostalgic for it just because of that. That was my era when I was like, 21 and stuff like,
Right.
oh, everything is going to be so great. We're feeling so
Mhm.
hopeful. And then everything kind of went to shit shortly after. But,
Oh, well, that
Yeah.
did happen. That did happen. I think I'm not a blanket defender. I just think there's like
Mhm.
seminal bands that actually did really well, and then it became a trend and was used
I think
to
it gets more hate than it
inject
maybe
emotions.
deserves.
It's one of those genres, I feel like it's almost like how dubstep was. It was very popular for a short amount of time, but then the sound just got incredibly irritating to hear after a while. And so it just like dropped off the face of the planet as a popular style. But
Yeah.
sometimes it's fun to revisit. Like I kind of wish I liked the beginning of the Stomp Clap era when it was still new because it did feel fun, But
Yeah.
then
Mm-hmm.
I think that now it's in
Okay, but
commercials and now it's
also
gross.
we should start to throw years on this because I feel like Stomp Clap didn't really start to become a thing until 2011, 2012, okay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed.
And that's about the time you get Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros. They basically plagiarize that song from Burning Man that they all sing, and they make it a single, okay? And for me, like that's like we're already receding as like millennials. Like up until 2011 was like peak fun, I believe. It was like 2003 to 2011 was like a blast. And then by the time you get around 2012, you're getting like Trayvon Martin and like Obama 2, and everything's way less fun, including the music. And you got like like Beach House, who had already been around, got huge. It was like Depression era shit. And I think a part of the Stomp Clap thing is like millennials were in Starbucks and they were pretending that they were in like the Dust Bowl. And that's what they thought you listened to in the Dust Bowl.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm mid-tier millennial. I think you and Lirpa are both older millennials. And
Yeah.
because that's right after, like, for me, I had just graduated high school and I was like just starting to be a young adult and going to bars and stuff. So I'm a little younger, but definitely felt like very contrived at the time. Like it was post, like that was the underground hipster thing. Because like it was still
Yeah.
kind of an underground hipster thing when I was in high school. But then when I got older, then it like, it had become mainstreamed and not unlike how you're talking about with country, it has that little bit of flavor that gets, repurposed into the top 40s.
We were just for that timeline, we were airing I can't remember their name now, but they were definitely like a Stomp Clap Hey band, but we were airing their music videos on the kids channel that I was programming in 2012. So that's where it went. Although personally, I quite like those years, but I also think I'll defend it because I feel like Arcade Fire gets thrown in there, and I'm like, early Arcade Fire to me is like
that was kind of the crest of their wave, though. But you're right, I agree. Arcade Fire.
Arcade Fire is a little too like slip my wrist for like Stomp Clap. Like I like Arcade Fire, but like it's not like
it's very Canadian that way. Yeah.
There's a thing with Stomp Clap where you could drop it in the background of like any car commercial and it like works. Like your grandmother is never gonna get upset that they put Stomp Clap in there, but if it's like Cardi B, you could see it like might not work, right? And my point is like I feel like up until 2012 there was a vibrancy. Like there's this Instagram account called Indie Sleaze. And if you look at it, it's just party pics from those years. And all of us look so stupid. Like we're wearing the dumbest clothes possible. But you have to imagine an environment where like none of that matters. It was like peak fun. Like it was so fun. And it was just like a lot of like gritty, like electronic music and like blog house type stuff. And the Stomp Clap stuff is like markedly like less party music.
Oh,
You're
yeah,
not going to grind to it.
it's music
like-
festival music.
Yeah, for sure.
Daytime
Well-
gig. People are high, you know, and then
Yeah.
I
With
saw
any
it
of that
at
stuff.
a festival, and there was a guy in a wheelchair that was like carried to the stage via the crowd. That's peak Stomp Clap
Yeah.
right there.
But it makes me think of like bands like MGMT or Passion Pit or any of that type of stuff where it was
Dude,
like that little.
Passion Pit.
Oh yeah, well, shout out to Passion Pit if you're listening. But yeah, that era where it was like where there was still like you wanted to have indie cred, but also white people were like, oh, it's cool to dance again. Before then, I was like, okay, now we just have to listen to top 40s, or it's racist if we listen to indie music.
Oh.
Like that little sliver of time. I was a big MGMT guy.
Oh, I was a big MGMT fan, like from very early. You know, to sound like hipster, I guess. So,
Mhm.
I saw Passion Pit at the Black Hat in DC for sure. I told him that. I was like, it was good.
Yeah, I saw
It was
him
a
in
good
Milwaukee
show.
back in the day. He's a good showman. So shout out to Passion Pit if you're listening. Not
Big
like,
shouts to
but
Passion Pit.
so this is ostensibly a 2025 retrospect. We've done a lot of talking about the early 2010s and late 2000s, but so 2020. So what's some other things that like really took you guys aback? Because I mean, kind of anything. Part of me was like, I was surprised at like how quickly I feel like Trump lost goodwill from normies and a lot of his followers, like really, really quickly.
That's the only thing that keeps me hanging on, is like seeing all these people jump. I'm such a contrarian that the
Mhm.
more people hate him, I'm like, oh, this is great. Like, tank the economy further. Let's go.
Hell yeah.
I'm just having like a total Bane moment.
So is the Rob Reiner thing not too far for you? Because it's funny how many people turned him on that specifically, that he's like,
That's
Rob
what I thought
Reiner,
when-
I
terrible.
have no idea what on
Same.
earth is going on with Iran. I missed that
I
completely.
think he got
Like-
killed by his son or something.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've
Just
been
for what, Trump
I've been
reasons
following
somehow?
this so closely. I'm sorry.
Can
you
you?
No, go ahead, Mom.
Yeah,
Oh,
can
no,
you give
please
us the
explain.
deets?
Yeah.
Yeah, they attend. So this is a pretty like, I don't even know what appropriate word to use would be. Like, I want to say crazy, but I'm like, maybe that's insulting. But yeah, so very famous director and his wife, and they were killed allegedly by their son, who had been struggling with drug substance abuse issues and mental health for a very long time. He had been in over 10 rehab stints, like in his early years already, over like a certain amount of time. In 2015, he made a movie with Rob Reiner. He wrote the script that based on his life, essentially, about this kid who spirals out of control and is on drugs and gets sent to rehab, and his parents are really evil, and then they welcome him back and say, like, I should never have made you go to treatment, you know. And now, and their entire press tour was sort of relitigated recently, obviously, where it's all this stuff where he's like, yeah, I should have never made him go to treatment. Like, I shouldn't have listened to what the doctors were saying, because I should have just listened to him and trusted him that he didn't need treatment. And it sounds like maybe he wasn't in such a good place recently either. He was living in their guest house and had been for a while. And they were at Conan O'Brien's Christmas party the night before, and he got into 2 fights, apparently. Yeah.
And he
And
killed
then-
his dad.
His dad and his mom, yeah.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, both.
Why is this why is Trump involved in this? I don't
Because he made a very tasteless tweet about like how it's like, oh, what a terrible tragedy, but Rob Reiner hated me. Terrible TDS. Failing Rob Reiner.
Oh,
Hasn't
yeah,
made a
he
movie for
died
years.
because
good
he had
Lord.
Trump derangement syndrome, and he was spouting hate. So kind of like, so you wait, that doesn't even make that doesn't even make any sense. But I find it interesting to see a lot of people that still have been defending Trump and just saying like, well, Rob Reiner also said mean things. And then I was watching Bridget Fettis's show, and she was like, "Yeah, let's listen to what Rob Reiner had to say after Charlie Kirk was killed." And the clip is him just being like, "This is awful. This should have never happened. No one should ever experience this." Like being very empathetic. And you're like, yeah, the big contrast, because he was very politically active, and you would have expected him perhaps to be very callous in that moment, but he wasn't. So that contrast with Trump growing all out and just being like, I think the US is better off with him dead, essentially.
Yeah, that feels like an unmitigated L for him, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoops.
I mean,
Unless you want to play devil's
bad
advocate.
taste.
Okay, so
No, I think it was bad taste. I mean, like, I'm not like a sycophant, right? Like,
Mhm.
I ain't even vote for the guy, I'm like, as Michael Tracy used to say, like an anti-Trump person, where like, it's not that I love the guy. It's just that like most of the people who are loudest about disliking him are like full of shit or dislike him for fake reasons. And what'd you say?
They're anti-fans.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. And so he doesn't like typically stir a lot of emotion in me. But yeah, I mean, I think it's bad taste, like what I was gonna say is, this is like a good comparison. Charlie Kirk, I think, is kind of sort of the story of the year, I think. Like if you ask me like what's the one thing that happened this year that's like in my head, it would be that was insane, both from like the visual spectacle standpoint, but like me just gauging the humans around me. There's a lot of people I knew it really shook up, and that so like when I think about him, I think about what that was like.
Yeah, I agree. That was definitely, it's one of the things that I feel like definitely broke containment as far as like an internet figure, dying in such a horrible way, even if you're not a fan of his. And that was definitely something, I say that as cards on the table. I had virtually no opinion on Charlie Kirk before that. I know he was like a TPUSA guy for like, your typical college Republican, but the response was something that really took me aback. Like my mother-in-law asked me about what I thought about it, and I was like, I didn't even know Charlie Kirk was on her radar, and she's like
right.
very sweet but very liberal lady. I didn't even know I was on her radar.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like I feel like the left is better at making heroes and villains than the right. They're good. They can make Stephen Miller look like the devil, and they can make George Floyd look like a saint. And I'm not really stating or questioning either of those. I'm just saying like everything's very turned up on both sides, versus like the right is not so good at painting a target on someone and making them like a bad person, nor are they very good at doing it with a good one. Like all their heroes got their statues pulled down in like the summer of 2020. Like they're not good at this game.
Well, they got it with Charlie Kirk, I think, though. I don't think even a lot of people on the left are appalled by the, folks who had bad things to say. I think they actually did win that one for the most part.
But it was looking like, I wrote that like I think he would become a martyr, and I'm actually less confident on that now. I think there's like a certain amount of time you have to ossify someone's memory and like basically pin it to a certain message, and it's extremely temporal. And if you wait too long or you jiggle it too much, it doesn't set. And a lot of people on the right actually have been complaining about this. The right is starting to tone police Candace Owens for just being a fucking kook. And she is weaving these in. There's multiple plots that like I'm not even gonna state because they're too crazy, but where like it looks like they got the guy who at least pulled the trigger, okay, at least that much. And when you start throwing around like multiple foreign governments, talk
Mhm.
about like exploding microphones and shit. I think that's like Ian Carroll. Like everyone gets so distracted, even if they think she's wrong. You're like, if I can make a quick aside, this is a true story. One of my aunts died when I was a young kid, and we go to this funeral service, and this rabbi gets up there to do her elegy. And he starts going down every malady that happened to this woman as a young child, getting passed from family member to family. It's like a Russian novel of tragedy. And at the end of it, he goes, it would have made any normal person into a serial killer, but not her. And all of us just look up, even me as a kid, and we're like, what the fuck is happening right now? And that's what they're doing. And no one's focusing on the
man.
tragedy, because you're like, this is too fucking crazy right now. And I think that like his memory got jiggled too much, and it's not going to set right now.
Yeah, that was first of all, it's a fucked up, a hilarious story of just like a rabbi just fucking bombing.
I know, I'm sorry.
Dude, it was crazy. Absolutely nuts.
But no, I think, and I say this as somebody who, like, again, I didn't have really an opinion on the guy other than like, not to speak ill of it. I thought he was a little bit corny, but sincere. It's just not my background, my political thing. But he seemed like a fairly like normal, average Republican kind of guy, and I think that's what maybe shook people up, and maybe why they're trying to build him up. I don't know. I can't speak to it because that's not my background, and it's a horrible thing to happen, a horrible way that he died. But I guess I can kind of see what you mean by that, because I looked into it ever so slightly, and I was like, I don't need to go down this rabbit hole. It seems to me like, maybe it's an Occam's razor thing of this was like a crazy mentally ill guy who saw a guy on the internet who he didn't like, or you could have some elaborate plot where the Mossad killed him for reasons and all this other stuff, or MI6 or whomever. I don't know. I feel like maybe that does detract from it a little bit.
Yeah, there's just like a freak show element to it. Like it's like you don't know what's going to come out of their mouths next. And like a lot of people, in addition to like getting specific with her, like just the meta picture, they're talking about why does this happen? So I meant to send it to you, but I'll find it. I think it was Eugippius just put out a piece, and he was talking about why these kind of conspiratorial things sell and why they get so big and they've metastasized. And he has a great line where he says, it's really cringe to blame things on the internet. And he's like, but here I go. And one thing he talks about, and something Scott Greer also speaks about, is like there's a serialization that happens through podcast. And it's like if every week, or even if you do it 5 or 7 times a week, everyone's coming back to hear like, what's the new dirt? What's the development? But life doesn't work that way. It's not like a first 48 episode where like in the 47th hour, they find the critical evidence and they get the guy to crack. It's like, sometimes it's probably 49 hours. Sometimes it's 47. Like things don't work that way. And I think that if you need people to always come back and you need growth, the idea that you always have a new development and some new esoteric knowledge that's forbidden, that normies don't know about, people are just going to eat it up like cotton candy.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for like the serialization of like the way people view the world now. And I guess it was something making me think of like, people talked about how 2024 was the first podcast election. And I don't know, it's hard to like put a start on it, but it feels like the internet and the mainstream are one complete thing now, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. Yeah, when people say the internet isn't real life, I don't think that's true anymore. I think at least for a lot of us, it's more and more difficult to separate. So, I mean, even if it's just as simple as, major decisions being made on social media, even if we're completely off of it and, living off grid, it is real life now. The reactions online, the things that happen in real life, like all of that is consequential, which is a little frightening, but I guess it makes sense it was going to be that way at some point or another.
Well, the thing is, like, you can never download TikTok. You can never put your credit card in for OnlyFans. You can throw your cell phone out. But what you cannot do is live in a world that exists without these toxins in them. And so what happens is you got to live next to people who are paying for OnlyFans and are like brain rotting on like TikTok short form videos. And one of the things is that like it affects how they process things. Something I'm like extremely sensitive to that I know I'm sure I sound like a paranoiac or like a controlling person, but like, I think a lot of Jonathan Haidt's work is like kind of cringe, but something he's right about is the negative effects of the internet seem to pronounce themselves more strongly in women and girls. And that you guys just feel more, you're more sensitive to it. And I find that to be true. And so like, if you're married to a woman, you're also married to the internet. Now she is too, it's true. But like, man, I've been getting inundated with like, I can tell like just 2 single products, but I'm talking about to the point of like, I don't know if you've ever had this happen where you get like 3 different people you organically follow on Instagram promoting the same product in a row. And you're scrolling and you're like, what, like, when would I buy a Game Boy? Like, why would this happen? And it's like every person is on the take for this product. Literally everyone. They know your demo. They're pushing hard. They're like, grow your hair back and here's Blue Chew. And then also buy this fucking product, okay? And my point with this is like, I always worry, like, is like Jeff Bezos or fill in your supervillain billionaire of du jour, is someone gonna like incept some crazy shit into my wife's head that's like she has to get this facial that like cuts half her head off and they're gonna put leeches on her and blah blah blah, and it's like $5 million. And then even if we don't get it, just having to have the conversation that's like, why are we talking about this thing that's existed for 3 seconds? Like it's an absolute necessity in life. And I fear this about technology that like, there's just stories, a news story we all have to chime in on. Why does that happen? It sucks.
It does suck because I feel the pull. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's the paratext culture.
It's what culture?
The paratext culture, just the talking about the talking and the talking, and the source material disappears farther and farther and farther away. The whole take culture drives me insane. And I feel it is true. It's like, blaming the internet is passé. But it's kind of like, I think we're at the point where everyone should be able to just say, like, yeah, we've noticed this.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've been hyper online for so long that like the internet was real for me, like when people were saying it isn't. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like,
welcome to the party, bitch.
Right.
But yeah, a lot of everything is everywhere. I think it wasn't that it was better before. It's that it was less. It wasn't as everywhere. Like you could go on Instagram and it was your friends, and it wasn't just chilling and injected AI posts and all sorts of things. And then I could just go on LiveJournal and I could have my fun over there.
LiveJournal. See, that's what got me internet. Like I was on LiveJournal all the time.
Yeah. Although LiveJournal,
was my pre-Substack.
Yeah, I think LiveJournal is a bit. It's kind of close to Substack, though. Substack has definitely gone into the grift space more. It's the monetization, obviously. But I think LiveJournal also did like seed a lot of bad behavior just because of the way it's structured. Like it's not that site specifically. I know everyone blames Tumblr, but LiveJournal was first.
Yeah.
That is
was.
where Fandom Wank and, you know, Oh No They Didn't, and all of those communities started, which kind of I feel
you know,
blurred the rest of the internet.
Yeah, there were some interesting groups you could join there. I remember when I was like 19, I joined some like ranking groups, and they like the whole idea was that they roasted the hell out of you in order to let you in. Like you had to pass this like series of absurd, like humiliating sort of, you know, rituals in this group to be accepted. And then I don't even really understand like there was no status like except for you among these internet strangers just existing in this online space. It was the strangest thing.
There
And-
were yeah.
Well,
There
it's
were elite
become mainstream
communities.
now.
Yeah.
Even the boomers are into like trying to get the status online. But that actually is an interesting segue into something like, so how does everybody see, like, what does 2026 look like for Substack? Because there's been so many, it feels like in the last 2 months I saw like 10 celebrities join, and there are a few here or there.
Way more than
There's
that.
a lot.
Mhm.
It's been a lot.
Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Mhm.
There's been, to be fair, I think
Lizzo
when
joined.
everyone started complaining, and I was one of the people complaining, it was musicians specifically, because actors, there's been actors on Substack for like a really long time, I feel like. Like Pamela Anderson's been around for ages. But that's definitely going to continue. And then the rise of the publications that also come to Substack. Also, I'm like, ooh, okay, we're
People were
really leaning
big
into
mad
Yeah,
about
like,
the
who
New
was-
Yorker.
Yeah, the New Yorker.
and Pop Crave. Like to me, I'm like, what are we doing?
Is
What are
that
we
one of
doing?
your nemesis?
It's definitely, I would definitely consider Pop Crave a nemesis. Yes.
What's wrong with Pop Crave? What's the
I
short
mean,
version?
it's just a Twitter account. Like this is the thing. It's not a publication. It's a Twitter account that just started posting pop culture things, but then now it posts everything. It's sports, politics. Like it's one of those accounts that started with a purpose, which was to amalgate, like discussing film or whatever those accounts are, that just sort of amalgate all of the, if that's the right word, all of the news. And then it just started going into everything. And it's like, now we're just like an all-purpose account, and we're just trying to be the new, I don't know.
I was gonna say
Go-to
BuzzFeed
sort
type
of-
thing. It sounds
yeah,
like.
BuzzFeed.
Yeah, but just, you know,
Yeah.
reporting on news that other people have reported. Like it's not.
Mhm.
It's like factoids. It's like a Snapple cap or like a
And a lot of Stan Wars. They're used a lot in Stan Wars for sure as well.
Yeah, I wonder if it's going to be a like a rising tides raise all ships type of things, or is it just going to be like if you're a smaller
definitely
independent creator, we're doomed?
You know,
Yeah.
is the takeaway?
someone had said something like, I'll worry as soon as these people, these celebrities, not the big like publications like the New Yorker, but when it comes to the celebrities in particular, like they said, I'll worry when they post a second essay, you know, because it seems like a lot of them are just, I can't remember who said it, but yeah, it seems like a lot of them will have one like, hey, I'm here on Substack now. Happy to be
Mhm.
here. Gonna talk
Just
about my
another
life.
social
And then they
media.
never say anything again.
Look, this
So-
is going to get farmed out. There's going to be ghostwriters for this eventually.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Lizzo is, you know, very talented, and like I didn't really read that piece, and she might have written it, but like just I have had friends who were professional ghostwriters, and so like it's common enough that you meet these people in real life, and they're like, oh yeah, like these are not real names I'm using, just these are for example, like Stephen King or Michael Crichton. They're not like sitting in the fucking cabin anymore. Like they're tweeting is what they're doing, you know, like they don't give a fuck about like they're not like doing this as a craft, like they're like ritual due to like kickback or whatever. They sketch this stuff out, these people fill it in. I'm sure that they edit it and make it work, you know, and that their hands are involved, but it's not like a start to finish all them process.
Yeah.
And this is more social media to me. So social media managers are a thing. Like,
yeah,
you got to get on Substack. That's where the kids are these days.
oh, 100%.
Or the people in their mid 30s.
There's definitely kids on there too, but it's also just like another. I think they can diversify as well if they monetize. The way I described it was like it's less desperate than Patreon. because a
Mhm.
lot of celebrities are popping up on Patreon as well, but then they have to offer something.
Which
with it.
I hate personally. Like I saw like the singer of System of a Down had a Patreon. It's like, dude,
Oh,
you're a
does he?
millionaire. Yeah, to me, it's there's maybe this is my little bit of like hipsterishness that's still around. It's like if you're a millionaire, why do you need it? Like how much money you're gonna
Oh,
make from Patreon, dude?
I'm very curious about what that Patreon's about. I'm not excited.
I
I'm
saw
excited
some
in the sense
clips
of,
or
like,
something that leaked. It's just like, oh, here's the some demos that I make. It's not. I don't know. Maybe if I paid for it, it'd be better. But well, here's another question: do we see anybody organically from Substack breaking out to the mainstream? Since people say, speak with
Oh,
Nemesis, people say
here's a
Cartoon
prediction.
hate her, but wasn't she big on Twitter first?
Well, so hold on. Here's my prediction.
Go
Of course,
ahead.
it's for her. I've privately DM'd this to a mutual of at least a few of us, who I will not out on this recording, but CHH is definitely going to have a plot arc by the year 2028. She will be in charge of steering a massive quantity of votes towards the Democrat Party. No fucking doubt. Because she's always doing this, like, oh, I'm not political. I'm just writing like silly little things and doing outfits. And it's like, bitch, I see you a mile away. I'm calling it now. You may not
DNC
know it
operative.
yet. You may not know it yet, but someone's gonna get their hooks in you, and you are gonna be doing some Taylor Swift ass shit real quick.
I was just
Yeah,
gonna say,
for
are you
sure.
saying she's gonna succeed where Swift failed?
Oh yeah. Well, the question is there anyone who's reading CHH who isn't already voting Democrat? That would be a more interesting question. Because if she's just cannibalizing people, like the type of lady who reads her has never not voted. She puts a pin on, she takes a picture every election. She's so proud. She's like, please don't kill me. I cry for the dear leader. I cry. And they show the pin and they're like, I participate in this farce of democracy. And yeah, no, those ladies are all voting. So the question is like, would it be useful? I think it would be useful for the brand of the DNC to sanitize itself as something that's like not old and crusty, because she has a good hip voice. Like she's not she's fine. It's like she's just not for me, but she's gonna be like I think trying to drive votes for them for sure.
Well, that
Big on Tumblr too.
Interesting.
I was gonna say, I feel like maybe that's the because everybody was like, oh, 2024 rather was the podcast election year. I think maybe that's the strategy in the future, just have like these micro targeted blogs and personalities. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if anybody else breaks containment. But
Heather
it's like
Cox Richardson.
Oh
She's
my
the
is
other
she
one.
another?
Did she start?
I
on
feel like
Substack,
she's
though? I
already
thought she
way
was-
bigger.
Yeah. But this is what I'm saying is like, she recently made the news because she claimed that, if I recall correctly, she claimed that the guy who killed Charlie Kirk was like a confirmed Royber or something immediately. She basically
Oh,
did the
yeah.
same thing Jimmy Kimmel did and blasted it to like 2.6 million people on her fucking email list. And this is not, this does not appear to be true. And she's another one where like she's now making the news for spreading misinformation on Substack. So this is something I'm curious about. Okay, so I was recently flaming with one of my favorites today, and she is like mommy scientist account, who shall remain nameless. And what I was thinking about is how sometimes what happens when I'm arguing with her is she'll bring in, but like this panic, but people are talking about blah, blah, blah on Twitter. She's like, it's real. And she's like, you should check. And I'm like, first off, I don't want to check. Okay. That's number one. I value my mental health way too much for that shit. But second of all, what I'm thinking is like, well, is she arguing with people on Twitter, or did she leave Twitter to come to Substack because she thought there would be like these other sophisticated mommy types, and that's all she would find there? But she's finding also at Substack there's guys with opinions she doesn't like or value. And she's wondering, why are these accounts arguing with me? I thought I moved to a nice neighborhood. And so I'm not on Twitter. I don't know if she's engaging with these people. She's clearly consuming content and then talking about it on Substack. But she seems to be shocked at the quantity of static she's received in the last, not just from me, just from people in general being like, lady, you're wrong. And I'm curious, when I ever look at the stuff Substack promotes to me, it's very obviously left slanted. It'll be like, guess what Trump just did? Or like Epstein files, new pictures released, damning evidence. And it's always like these kind of, if you're a Democrat, those are what you want to see. But is that reflective of the user base? Or is there a mishmash where you have them thinking that it's all mommy blog scientists, but there's a bunch of us trapped in here with them too? And they're kind of like pretending we're not here.
Well, I think it's the latter, because if I mean, whether or not we're thinking of the same person, if we are, I think I can map out exactly like how she ended up in the circles that she argues with all the time, because of like, there's just so, Substack is still so small. Like it has like a small town vibe compared to like, you know, I don't know, whatever other platforms.
Twitter.
Still, I don't think it'll last as long. Yeah, like Twitter. I mean, as opposed to Twitter. And so you meet one person, like in this woman's case, like you meet one person who's just sort of tangentially also attached to these other like anti-feminists or the not the anti-mommy bloggers, but the people who are willing to argue with them. And then, you know, it ends up kind of flooding. It floods their feed just as much, which is kind of something I like about it in this, just because it forces people to look into their opinions that they assume are going to be just agreed with. And I actually see it happening with some people where you can see they're getting frustrated, but they're also like, well, God damn it, maybe you're a little bit right, you know, like slowly but surely, like people seem to be allowing other opinions to sort of permeate in a sense, as long, you know, at least if they stick around on Substack, if they're not overwhelmed and irritated enough to just leave.
Like, I don't have a tech background, so maybe Prester John or either of you know more about this than me. But and maybe this is my paranoia, but I get a slight sense of Truman Show on this thing. And what I mean by that is not so much that like I'm getting hit with like a bunch of AI content or whatever, but to me it actually feels like there are certain force fields looping some of us in with each other. And because if you look, like Heather Cox Richardson is like probably one of the most lucrative people you could be on Substack. You know, Slow Boring is up there, but that's not solely Matt Iglesias. That's got to get split out somehow because there's so many writers. Like the biggest ones, like The Argument is coming up. They're like a swath of people, a whole staff. And that makes sense because you're going to produce content super fast and you can bump the quality up because you got like money to spend on payroll. Okay. But like, my point is like, I never see Heather Cox Richardson stuff ever,
Me neither.
but it'll be like, she's the most popular person. How is that happening that I never see her stuff? Are there like promoting people that are not popular? No, I'm in some weird social like to some extent, I think I'm saying the same thing as you, but it does feel like we're walled off from a bunch of normie content. And that feels weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the algorithm for Substack feels very untransparent, and I've done a little research to try to like promote what I do a little bit better, but I don't know. I feel like that's the case with any. It's kind of like whenever I hear, I remember it was like a year or two ago that that Wednesday Addams show came out. It's like, this is the most popular show Netflix has ever had. It's like, was it though? Like I only know like 2 people in real life who have talked about it. But sorry, Monia, were you going to say something? I feel like I interrupted you there.
Well, now I don't remember, but just because you said Wednesday was the most popular show, I don't remember. I remember the discourse about Baby Reindeer being the most popular show, and then the numbers were
I don't even know what that is either.
There we go. And then the numbers were also like not necessarily supporting that. So it was just like, it's the whole thing of like have a big PR push, and then hopefully like Olivia Nuzzi, I don't know how you pronounce her name, had a big big promo cycle. Did that reflect in her book sales? Turns out it didn't. Like,
well, there's a lot of that. I remember the first time you were on my podcast, Monia, we talked about Charlie XCX having this big stadium tour that just like kind of flopped because maybe she doesn't have the organic popularity in real life. And I see that in Substack too. There's people who have like, tens of thousands of subscribers, but they're like, my articles get more like likes and shares and views. And it's like that can't be right. I don't know what it is, if like I just have like particularly good engagement for what I do, or is just like people will get subscribed to a lot. You're shaking your head emphatically.
Yeah, because I'm trying to remember what I was going to say, but like I think this is because not everyone who reads on Substack or subscribes on Substack is on Substack. I've seen a lot of people saying like, oh, we think all these old people are on here because people imported their email list and now they've just been included. And it's like, that's not really like, you don't auto sign someone on for Substack when you import your mailing list. It's that the email goes out to them. People can sign up to you without having a Substack account. And I've had a lot of people reach out to me for various things that have never interacted with my posts ever. And I'm always like, okay, hello, random person. You say you've been reading my stuff, and then they'll link specific pieces, but they've never interacted with any of my posts. Or some, like one of my pieces was linked on Financial Times. I didn't realize that until I saw it as like a source. That person never interacted with my post. Like there's
congrats for you.
Well, what did it do for me? I still am, I'm not very optimistic about my future on Substack. So
I'm curious to know in general how that works too, because just as far as the algorithm goes, like just recently, like the last 5 or 6, I have my RSS feed going to YouTube. The last 5 or 6 have been like getting, after like, a couple hundred views, like they've been getting thousands of views all of a sudden. Like what changed? I don't know what's going on with any of this, the algorithmic stuff. If it like, is there a finger on the dial or on the scale, so to speak, or is there just like something, an actual algorithm that is, getting tread or something?
I mean, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I think it hasn't necessarily it's been confirmed that they're trying to grow paid subscribers over free subscribers, which to me makes it a natural knock on that is that you don't promote free newsletters really, because they have no paid subscribers to get, so you can't make money off of them. So don't promote them, and I'm a free newsletter. So, then I'm like, am I being I have a victim complex now? But there's just like, there's the spread of the algorithm is very like confusing to me. I don't know how it works at all.
Interesting. So yeah, do we have any other thoughts, predictions on Substack in 2026? If there will be any breakout stars or anything like that?
It'll be mined a lot more for content. I'll say that for sure. It's already listed in like fandom reports about like go find fans on Substack to write about
I haven't said this publicly, but there was I remember being on YouTube not that long ago, and I saw somebody who made an essay. I was like, oh, this is cool. He's talking about something I talked about in one of my essays. And I realized this motherfucker plagiarized my essay, and he like technically cites me as like, oh yeah, there's this guy named Prester John on Substack, and like screenshots it for like 2 seconds, and then like takes my script and he like cites me for part of it, but he like steals half of my script. So I didn't say anything because like, I wasn't really on YouTube at the time. I didn't know how to contact them, but I think that we're going to see more and more of that, of people on Substack getting plagiarized.
Yeah, maybe.
What were you going to say though, Anshin?
So I was going to say that I don't know if I have a prediction about any one person going big, but to get back to what I was saying about like, why do I see these like kind of like normie tab breaking news things that are like, just they seem to be favoring a certain political perspective, but not in like a hardcore way, in the way like CNN does at the airport. It's just like on. So it's not like offensive to me, but like what I'm thinking is like, well, Okay, but like what like the reason most of us I think or I thought the reason I'm on Substack is to like get away from that shit. So
Yeah.
like what I'm driving at is like the promoted stuff is like promoted down a central channel. I don't think it's customized according to my views or your views. Like I'm talking about the news things that they're trying to run now.
Mhm.
And
Right.
to
The
me,
trending ones.
yeah, what that looks like is they're not particularly bullish on the Republicans retaining power past 2028. They are basically, I think what they're doing is the price they pay for trying to maintain free speech on this platform, which I appreciate very much, is that they have to mouth the pieties to like the CNN, MSNBC crowd, as old and dwindling as they are. They have to like make it look like CNN is on all the TVs to run cover for the fact that like, you know, people are writing things you're not supposed to write.
Interesting. So do you think Substack is going to start cracking down in the next couple of
I
years?
think, I don't know. I think that all of these companies, unfortunately, are sensitive to the whims of whoever governs them.
Mhm.
Like, as you can see, like Twitter having all these issues in Brazil and shit like that, with like just one judge who's just like, fuck you. You know, this stuff is real. And so I think that, like, you know, there may come a point where some of these companies just say, fuck you, I'm not paying or whatever. Or like, what are you going to do about it? Or like, we're going to pull all your Starlink out of the air or whatever they're going to do to punish them. And they get into like a pissing match. But I think for the most part, if there's anything that the Twitter files showed, it's that the companies just roll over and play ball. In fact, I think they're excited to do so.
Hmm.
So this is not to speak ill of Substack.
Mhm.
I'm just talking about of other apps, what we know historically, whether it's Meta, Facebook, Twitter, Google, all these, they all are like, yeah, no problem. What else do you need? You know, where's the
Mhm.
pushback from them?
Although I don't think it's quite the same thing, but YouTube just announced that they were going to pull out of like the Billboard charts so that YouTube views no longer count. That was like a weird thing.
They did?
I mean, Billboard is
Really?
not the same as like a government like entity
Mhm.
or you know anything like that, but it was like a weird like, oh my goodness, my popcorn is out now because
I had no idea that was actually Oh, again, that I feel like that probably
streams, yeah.
contributes to some of these artists who are supposedly huge who are failing to really sell. Because, and again, maybe I'm just like, you know, the prototypical 30-year-old boomer, but not even that long ago, like I could name you Beyonce songs, I could name you Coldplay songs, gun to my head. I couldn't tell you a Bad Bunny song or a Charlie XCX song. I'm not convinced these people are like organically really popular in the way that like you could hear them on at like Starbucks or something like that.
Which is really funny that you mentioned Charlie XCX again, because Freddie DeBoer wrote a piece about how Brat Summer was fake, and she already
Friend
had
of the
stands on
show, Freddie
Substack.
DeBoer.
Yeah, so she already had her stands on Substack because they were coming at him over it. So maybe that's partially why she's like, "Oh, I've got people on here for
Man.
me."
Who
they
hasn't
were-
had a fight with Freddie DeBoer? Jesus
I was
Christ.
going to say that
Right.
I
friend of the
have.
show, Freddie DeBoer. He's
I hope not to.
no,
Yeah, same.
I
I'm
like
like
his
a little
writing,
afraid of
generally speaking, but like
Yeah, no problem.
he loves
Yeah.
picking
Mhm.
fights with like
they're
nobody.
usually
This was the
insane.
stand. The stand was the aggressor in this case. I'll just say that. But it was
Yeah.
very much just
Well-
like they were very angry. They were like, the girls and the gays did it. We made her a mainstream star. And it's like, you're delusional. Like it was just
You know,
you're so
there's-
disconnected from reality. Like it.
Well,
Okay.
this is like kind of like the theory of how protest works, right? Where like if you chimp hard enough and the winds of fortune are at your back, power just is like, you know what? We've got all this power, all the guns and all the money, but you made a great case. You know what? We're going to give you what you want. And that almost never happens. but it does kind of sort of happen in American mythology. Lirpa and I spoke about this once, but like basically what happens is you'll notice the Supreme Court will magically have a radical revision of what we're going to do as a nation, the whole shebang, all of us, right as soon as people are at like a fever pitch or of popularity for what they're going to do. So like by the time gay marriage came around, people were so softened to the idea after like decades or years of like sitcoms where they just kind of like normalized being gay and it was like not like a real big deal. And like as time went on, they knew more and more people who were gay and they're just like, man, like fuck it, if they just want to blow each other, who gives a shit? Like just no one cares. And I think that there's like a similar mechanism here where a select group of people see an outcome that they were really chimping for, they were really enthusiastic, and when it happens they take credit. Like how many people, I'm very curious to find out how many people who really don't like what was going on in Gaza, who were making a lot of noise on it on the internet, are going to give themselves credit if a ceasefire maintains. I'm curious because it took like 2 years for it to happen. But there's this thing of like, I do believe there's a non-zero portion of people who, because they want it and it did happen, they will credit themselves somewhat with the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
You said the right thing on Twitter about it.
Exactly.
You know,
you just have the
Netanyahu
right
looked
tweet.
and just enough people have tweeted that Netanyahu is going to make that make the change.
He's just going to hand himself into the Hague. That's how it's going to go.
But actually, so that actually kind of reminds me, I'm going to make a prediction for 2026. And I might eat shit on this one. I'm going to say Donald Trump doesn't finish 2026 as president. I say he resigns or has health issues or something like that. It's I'm throwing that out there. I can back it up if you guys want. I don't have a super strong. Oh shit! I didn't think you were gonna ask me to back it up. No, I mean I feel like between like the Epstein stuff and all this other stuff, like I think a lot of the things he was trying to accomplish, he's gotten past the buck, so to speak. But let's be real, the man is like 80 something. He's like 80 or very close to it. He's starting to get that Biden pudding brain. I think they're just going to say, Don, go play golf and have JD Vance like be the serious one who's like, all right, I'm a serious person. Let me get it across, actually like go through the governing. So I might be wrong on that, but I'm going to say, and I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying, I think there's a reasonable chance Donald Trump resigns by the end of 2026.
So that goes in interestingly to one of my theories, which is that I think that Vance's wife is likely to, at least publicly, if not genuinely, but publicly convert to Catholicism. And if in fact Trump does, resign or whatever, I think that would make that a more likely prediction, just because she's going to get a lot of pressure after that whole thing with Vance talking about, her Hinduism or whatever. But I was also wondering if because I've been thinking about her and Vance lately, just in terms of what I expect to happen next year. And it was probably catalyzed by that moment, by that little, speech he gave or whatever, which I didn't even find terribly offensive. It was just whatever it was.
Can you footnote it real quick? What did he say?
He said, I think someone asked him about it was something about isn't it hard that your wife isn't also Christian or something to that effect? And he said like any Christian would, I'm probably butchering the hell out of this, but like any Christian would, he hopes that his wife would come around and see things like in the way that he does and come to believe what he believes. But like in the end, there was some idea that it's okay, I love her anyway, whatever, but people got really mad about it. She didn't look too happy, although I don't know how in context the picture of her face was, if it was really if it was really right after he said what he said, or not. But Yeah, so that offended some people. I went and looked at the clip and I didn't really see it myself. It didn't seem that offensive to me. But either way, like part of me thinks, she doesn't really give a shit. She doesn't really seem like the kind of woman who is going to be pressured into converting. But at the same time, I wonder if it might just be like well, it's politically expedient and I have to do this to help my husband. So I guess I'll do what I got to do. Like that, it could be one of those moments.
I think that's going to be a really good barometer of if the vibe shift of 2025 continues or if it's losing steam, honestly, because I could see Vance or somebody like that trying, because, say what you will about him. I know some people really like him, some people really don't. He's a very like cynical political actor, I would say. I think that's probably uncontroversial. If I could see him trying to like play either side of it to like, okay, if he thinks it's going to carry, like, yep, let's have her convert to Catholicism and we'll go all in on it. Or he's like, I'm a hillbilly, but my wife is, because that was his original thing, right? Because I read his book and it's like, oh, I'm this white trash hillbilly, but I married an upper class Indian Hindu woman, and that's what America can be. Like, it'll be interesting to see if it zigs or zags on that one.
Yeah.
I don't have a prediction, but related to that, I think it would be a mistake if the Republicans want to try to win. I think it would be a mistake for them to go back to like the George Bush, the W, like fucking flag and eagle and all that shit. Like, I think what's been happening is America, as like it's been conceived at least since World War II, it's just dying. And like, it's not that like the country goes away, right? Like the dirt doesn't recede into the water. But the thing is that like all these myths, like people are basically atheists on them now. In the same way, like when you're in school and like you're finding out about like Zeus and Hera and you're like, did people really believe this shit? And like, they kind of present it like they did, but then you find out and you're like, no, like the same way there's like a guy in your church who's kind of like questioning some of this stuff. Yeah, there were people and they had minds of their own, and like some of them knew this is bullshit, okay? And what I was gonna say about this is that like no disrespect to religious people, but religious people who are conservative, like what's their choice? Who are they gonna go to? What, they're gonna vote Democrat if they have like basically a closet atheist? Like, no, they've had a closet atheist 2 terms now. Easy, right? Like, at least, right? Trump alone, like, is not like pretending that hard. They will put up with it. However, the higher IQ, less religious rightoids, they are not going to go to the voting booth and pull the lever for someone that they think is going to throw them in prison because they, like OnlyFans or smoking weed or whatever they're up to. They're not going to go vote for that. And so, like, unfortunately, I would say, like, the religious people are going to have to put up with a more cosmopolitan, more Chris Rufo style right wing, if that's presented to them, which what will not happen. And I know Rufo's religious. I'm not like impugning his personal faith, but I'm saying he doesn't lead with that. Like, something smart about Ben Shapiro up until 3 seconds ago, is when he used to argue, even though he's a man of faith, he would always argue as though his opponent was a staunch atheist and never rely on like a line from like the Old Testament as like a dunk, because that guy doesn't believe in that. And so your magic spell doesn't work on him. And I think that it would be interesting to see. I know they may need to put a little bit of sugar in there to make it more palatable. So you don't want like Caligula going in on the right. People are not ready for that. Like Baptism is not going to happen, but you could have like a guy who's like married to a Hindu woman and is like, fucking deal with it. What are you going to do about it? They'll vote for him. What's their other choice?
I could see that.
Yeah, it's like it would be a dumb strategy to get overly religious, I believe.
Yeah, it seems like they're trying to walk that line of like appeal to the old base. Also, like it seems like it would be, and I say this as like, not a Trump voter, but if I were a Republican strategist, like I think Donald Trump won and like got like historic margins for groups that Republicans traditionally didn't, because he was not like a Bible thumping. He's like that hilarious clip of him is like, what's your favorite Bible verse? Oh, they're all great. Old Testament, New Testament. It's all great. Some people like cake, some people like cheesecake. He's clearly not a Christian. And I think that's kind of like, there was that, and maybe it's not even the political goodwill, but there was, because I don't know. I know some people who are Trump supporters who are still, it's like, yeah, I don't like the Rob Reiner comment, but directionally I like what he's doing. But there was for sure, at least to me, indisputably, there was a moment in like late 2024, for like a good chunk of 2024 and early 2025, where like it was a little cool and a little countercultural, but like they kind of like, shit the bed on that pretty quickly, just because, at least to me, they're like reverting to a lot of this, like, Bush neocon stuff. So we'll see how that carries over.
I don't think it's just that. So I remember when he was running for re-election this most recent time in 2024, some people were critiquing him and they were like, no, he needs to be doing this. And they were basically calling for him to reanimate as the same guy who ran in 2016. And I was like, well, no, he can't bring that same level as heat because he's already won. Like when you're fighting Goliath, people will allow a little bit of eye gouging and elbowing and stuff like that if you're like significantly smaller than your opponent. But if you have proven yourself, people have a lot less tolerance for that kind of stuff. And what I was going to say is that like all of this stuff has to evolve. Like we kind of hit our limit with this. And what I was going to say about like you can't run the second time the way you ran the first time if you actually indeed won. These guys are trying to get so much shit done so fast. Like it's not actually a lot to us, but like for Washington, this is like incredible. And so if like you're deporting like people left and right, and whether they're actually deporting a lot of people or just making it look like they're deporting a lot of people, you don't get to like pretend to be like powerless or yucking it up. And so they no longer look like the counterculture to a lot of people because like now they've been in for a year and they've done a lot of shit, and like they flipped the bird to a lot of people who said you cannot do that, and they were like, yeah, well we're gonna do it. And so I think like that's a part of the dynamic in the air is like you can't be Stephen Miller and pretend like you don't know why someone's mad at you, whether you agree with him or not. Like like not weighing in on that. Like he tough bull of a guy, and like you can't. Or that guy Tom Homan is terrifying to me. Like he looks like a football coach with like dip in his mouth who's gonna like maybe break my legs if I don't start running faster. Like he terrifies me. He just looks like that kind of guy, and you can't like act like you're not in charge when you have that energy.
Well, I think we talked about this on our Eddington episode, where like it's very unseemly when right-wing people do like the woe is me grievance politics. Just like it's very unseemly when left-wing people try to be what I hear people talking about, like, oh, we're going to do dark woke in 2026. We're going to be mean this time. It's like you were nice before. Like I don't see that happening, but I don't know. Do you? I could see like blue MAGA becoming a thing where it's like basic, populism, with like some, what would you say? Like, Trumpism with blue state characteristics or something like that. But I don't know. I remain bullish on like whoever can be like a semi-normal person, Republican or Democrat, and be like, all right, let's rein it in. It's been a crazy 15 years. Let's try to be a little bit normal. But we'll see.
And maybe that's why CHH will be the one who ends up pulling in all the votes, because she's such like a turbo normie about about things that people online are, extremists about.
I could see that.
I mean, I think part of, like, to not give the voting public too much credit, I think one thing that voters can detect is someone full of shit or not. And so what I mean by that is, like, what the Democrats keep looking for is a guy who basically physically looks like me, like a big John Fetterman moron, but that, like, I can talk and I can argue their points for them and, like, hit the beats. And they can't find this in the wild, which is why they get guys like Graham Plattner or whatever.
I was going to say they got close, but I was the guy with the Nazi tattoo, right?
Yeah, or Tim Walz. Like, they encounter these problems where, like, people like me whose votes they need to get are like, well, I'm not a gun guy or a hunting enthusiast, but something about this Walz guy seems off. And then, like, you know, he'll do a photo shoot with, like, some guns, and, like, every gun guy on earth is like, oh, he's holding it wrong, he didn't hit anything. And, like, you just start to smell a little bit of the bullshit. But my point is that Donald Trump is, like, a real kind of class traitor. Like, he's not a guy who pretended to be a Democrat for, like, his whole life and then all of a sudden just, like, turned into this other thing. He was kind of that, and at a certain point they never respected him, and he said, fuck you, I'm going to go to the other party and do this thing. But he never pretended. Graham Plattner pretends, you know. John Fetterman pretends he's a rich kid. He was just like, I'm rich, who cares, fuck it. And I think that is a problem. Democrats are trying to recruit someone who could optically fit the bill, but people smell bullshit on, versus if they wait long enough, the real thing will emerge. There will be a real class traitor from the right who's like, you know what, they're all morons, they can't read, and they're corrupt, and fuck them. But that hasn't happened yet, so they're fucked.
Yeah, they the attempts to synthesize a Joe Rogan of the left have been so far unfruitful. But one more thing about that, and do maybe some stuff besides politics. I will say, weirdly enough, who is that? I think we talked about who's that one chick who, like, was, like, really snippy and rude in an interview, and she, like, shouted at like somebody who's in the background.
Shit, Katie Porter.
Yeah, she, like, that's authentic to me. It's like, that is somebody who is,
yes, 100%.
That's who you want running stuff. Like, okay, yeah, you were the one who said, like, yeah, okay, she's not nice, but when shit needs to work, you need people like that, and people who are authentic pieces of shit.
Yeah, and she's not faking that. Yeah, you can't fake that. It's not flattering.
I kind of liked her a little bit because of that.
Yes, sure. Yeah, for sure.
So here's a different question. Unless anybody else has something else on that subject, I'm going to throw out another prediction, and I think maybe it says something about culture-wise stuff, or like the media, which is maybe a Monia thing too. I'm going to say, I know there's another Avengers movie in 2026. I haven't watched those for a while, but my prediction is it's going to flop or seriously underperform. I'm going to say 2026 is the year where superhero movies, and, like, I would say Hollywood more broadly, is really gonna face plant, since I'm actually working on something about, like, Hollywood and movies in the industry right now. And I did some research, and, like, 2025 was, like, the worst year that Hollywood has had in 30 years. And adjusted for inflation, it's even worse. So I'm gonna say, yeah, the Marvel Cape stuff is gonna completely face plant. And I think we're gonna see a couple other, like, really high profile flops. And I think Hollywood is gonna be, like, in very, very dire straits.
Interesting. I mean, I know there has been big uproar about that because Chris Evans is back in it, and people are like, I thought we weren't doing that anymore. What's going on? I feel like the MCU in general has been in a scramble for a while. Like, their phases, like, they've had a lot of sequels that kind of just, like, disappeared or might pop up in 5 years. It's messy. All the mergers, all the buyouts, everything is very messy. And then I still remember when Trump said he was going to put tariffs on every film that wasn't
American,
and, like, you couldn't show them in theaters. And I'm like, I don't know where this is going, whether he can even legally do this, but if it happens, like that is going to make that is going to shift culture tremendously. I think to make the US way more isolated instead of continuing to exert cultural power externally. I think it would just become more insular, but maybe more successful if there's only American movies in the theaters.
Was there a lot of foreign movies to begin with?
Well,
Isn't
a lot
it
of
mostly
like,
American Hollywood?
yeah, it's a mostly American movies, but there's a lot of British movies,
Well,
and then
so
film festivals.
sorry to
Yeah.
cut you off. The reason for those tariffs, I can understand them like legibly as an outsider at first. I think like 90 or 95% of Hollywood films are filmed in other countries. Like those locations, it's cheaper. Like this is how spaghetti westerns happened back in the day. It was like a fortune comparatively to film these westerns in the US. So they'd go to Italy or sometimes Spain in the country, and they'd shoot there and just tell everyone it was like, you know, Arizona, Texas, whatever. And so these guys, Hollywood is global. It's arbitraged out to other locations. It's much cheaper for them. And Trump was like, what the fuck? You guys have like bajillions and bajillions of dollars, and the first thing you do is send the money outside of the country.
Yeah, there's a lot of that for sure. Although I'm not sure how that would work because I think Marvel is moving from Georgia, like going to Germany or something like that. There's like a lot of those studios are kind of leaving. Maybe he'll invent a CanCon system for the US, because a lot of stuff films here as well, especially television. And I believe that London, UK, they've had like some really big studios opening, and they're really like amping up they want to be a destination for filming. So that is going to be very interesting culturally. People were not excited for the Spielberg drop either. Like, yeah, the movie slate.
Is Spielberg doing a movie?
Yeah, coming out July.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Alien movie.
I guess that's what was kind of getting at. Am I just getting old or out of touch? Which, no, don't answer that. But like, it feels like movies have like less cultural reach than they used to, because I had no idea about this. And again, like I was never a huge Marvel guy. I haven't watched them for a while, but I do kind of feel like this one's gonna flop, because the last one I watched was when Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans died. And I thought like they weren't in it anymore. And I think the fact that they're bringing them back probably is a sign that like it's not doing so hot, because I think they pretty definitively died from what I recall.
I wish maybe I'll have to investigate the reason why they brought him back, because a lot of people are like, why is he even doing this? Like he doesn't need to do, like, people are like, does he have debts? Like, what's going on? I don't know. It's just expanding. Everything is expanding. More Star Wars, like everything is just, I don't know. I think streamers are definitely, the theater industry is going to continue diminishing quite a bit.
Do you see it going under?
No, not going under. No. I don't think it's ever going to go under. It's going to be, someone else made this comparison and I just agree with it, that it's just like opera or ballet. Like there's always going to be theaters. They might just not screen a lot of newer movies. When they change the rules for the Oscar submissions, when you don't have to screen in theaters anymore, you're going to see a very, very big shift, because that is why a lot of movies go to theaters at all in the first place. Like when they do a little window in the theaters before going to streaming, it's just so that they can be eligible for awards, because there's a requirement.
I can see that, and how like you in the future, whatever's in theaters will be whatever's the most popular streaming, and they decide to put it in theaters based on its views, so that they can just have like a different experience in the actual viewing of it.
Yeah.
Ironically, 2025 is when I saw the most movies, probably because of podcasts like that. The one we were just talking about with Joaquin Phoenix, Eddington, yeah, and then there's one with Julia Roberts about like I never ended up talking about this on a podcast like I intended, but yeah, about like a campus sexual assault alleged one.
Was it After the Hunt?
That one, yes, that one was a weird one. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I felt about it. It was confusing. But yeah, and then there was the other one I just talked about with Fion Ultima, with Leo DiCaprio, the Revolution movie.
Mhm.
But yeah, I've
Yes,
seen a lot of
yes.
movies this year. Yeah.
Yeah, so I
One battle
listened to
after
you
another.
guys. I
Oh,
listened to you
cool.
guys talk about that. And we all watched Eddington, well, some of us. And so,
Mhm.
something that's happening is like, I can't really speak to like the economics of Hollywood and how they're going to fare. I'm sure a lot of these theaters are going to close. A lot of commercial real estate's been
Mhm.
underwater since like COVID, basically. But I think that we're going to get a little injection of some better art in the next couple years. And here's why.
Yeah.
Like, before World War One, you never saw a movie where they're like gonna like, shoot rockets off or anyone's gonna get mustard gas. Like that shit hadn't really happened yet. So there weren't movies showing that kind of thing until sometime after World War One, right? And so same thing with like COVID. We didn't have that many pandemic movies. I mean, they existed, but like we didn't have a lot of those prior to COVID. We're going to have a lot more art that's about like, if not like a disease, something that happens. We used to have alien movies like Independence Day or whatever, but we're going to have these movies where there's like a global panic and we see how people get real weird and goofy under extreme circumstances. And like Eddington introduced these kinds of characters who didn't exist before like podcasts and social media and all of these vectors came forward to make everyone, even the most normal people, extremely conspiratorial. And now we're here. And I was talking about this with someone. We were both two people who have not yet watched Pluribus, but talking about what we had heard about it. And I mentioned Eddington, and I said how there were a couple times in the film where they acknowledged something that all of us privately thought during COVID, whether it was about COVID or George Floyd or your mask, pick your topic, 6 feet, whatever, something you might have questioned in your head, the legitimacy of it. And they just put it out there in the open. And my reaction watching it was like, oh, so we're just doing that now. Like, we're just going to talk about it. And to tie everything up to today, this guy just came out with this piece in Compact Magazine about how he's a white millennial guy. And basically, at every standpoint where, like, he didn't have to do great, just like, okay, like, he was told, like, yeah, we got too many of you, like, suck it. And I think it's interesting to see these kind of like information cascades where it's like, did anyone actually not know how this shit worked? Like, did anyone not know some of this had to be bullshit, right? People knew this, but like, if you were to try to probe that or like broach it, people would rip your head off. And it's interesting to see. And I think we're going to get an injection of art that starts having those, oh, so we're just doing this now moments.
Interesting. I could see that. I mean, for
Yeah.
one, it's like that that cycle, like, it's not happening. Okay, it's happening, but it's a good thing. And it'll be interesting to see like if we zig or zag, so to speak, in 26 and going forward. Because another thing that I was going to say, it's Hollywood related, is and I forgot if this was something we said in like DMs or we were talking about on a podcast, Monia, but like one of my predictions is that like I think the celebrity activist is going to go away. I think that's going to be in the contract more. Like, you don't. I think specific like they're going to get reined in hard over the Gaza thing. I think it's going to be like, nope, you are a nice, chill celebrity again who has opinions about food and baseball and maybe like the most mild political take. I think like celebrities are not going to be allowed to run their own social media. If not in 2026, I think almost definitely not, but probably by 2030. Like, I think either we're going to be in like, Radio Rwanda, super localized for everybody, or like there's going to be a forceful, like, let's take control of the reins. Let's bring the temperature down. like celebrities and studios aren't going to be allowed to say stuff like that. So I'm thinking that it's going to be like very purposely pushed to try to take the temperature down in pop culture.
Interesting. That's an interesting take, considering I mean, I think there are a few celebrities that have become a lot less vocal. I think Jennifer Lawrence went on record as saying, like, "Oh, I shouldn't be so much
She
politics."
chilled about that, I think, didn't she?
Yeah. But and then you see, I'm trying to square this with, so I'm writing something right now, and there was a report that I question many things about this report, but it's a report that's saying, like, oh, everyone who said, not everyone, but they were saying that the calling Taylor Swift a Nazi because she wasn't saying anything was actually a coordinated attack from fill in the blank. Like, it was a coordinated attack from inauthentic accounts. And it's like, what are you talking about? And then you just like sort of try to read this report. And it was just like, this, with what you're saying in mind, it kind of feels like counter programming of like, yeah, see, she should be allowed to be silent and we should dismiss all of these accusations of like overly politically invested people. So maybe you're right. Maybe they're trying to sort of be like, yeah, see, all of the complaints to do with politics are actually just bot attacks. And there's going to be a lot of more bots and AI online. So you could probably easily dismiss complaints.
Can you imagine being the guy who has to go explain to Vladimir Putin who Taylor Swift is when he's like right in the middle of like something important, and just be like, Mr. Putin, and like he's like, but what does she do? And he like shows him a couple of videos, and they're like, she's the most famous person in all of America. You have to get her. Like it. This is just so insane.
Now there's a movie.
Like,
No,
Yeah.
that would be crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I might be over my skis on that one. Maybe people will just keep on getting crazier, and maybe this is wishful thinking on my part. But I feel like at this point, like, to what degree you want to say like there's been like an anti-woke backlash in the institutions? Because I feel like it probably hurt the bottom line. Just like people are just tired of hearing about these things, and maybe they'll just like, hey, we're still going to keep pushing it, but just don't say it out loud. You know, does that make sense? But
yes.
I don't know.
I think these people have not changed one iota. I get a big whiff of, here's what I see, okay? And I'm going to make the case, the very charitable case for these people not changing. A lot of these people still have their jobs and they didn't get fired, but their funding got pulled and they're real fucking pissed about it. And as such, because they still have their jobs, they're basically like, okay, if I can hold my breath 3 more years, we're going to make sure this can never, ever happen in the next like 100 years. Like, we're going to make sure we're going to like button this constitution the fuck up. This stuff's never happening again. There's going to be all kinds of like, backstops on like appropriation bill funding, like how they architect this stuff so that next time they get a substitute teacher they don't like, this shit can't happen. And I think that once they lock it up, they're going to feel extremely free to go back to business as usual. And I think that they will feel way more justified in indulging any levels of sadism that may be within them, because they feel like they're seeking vengeance. Like, whereas they were a lot pissed off before, now they want to go scorched earth. And I think I see a lot of people like just in our orbit, like when we do interact with them, they seem very duplicitous to me in a lot of their answers, where you'll be like, hey, like there's this one part of your argument that I have a question about. Can you address this? And they keep sidestepping it or probing with like, why do you want to look in there? What do you race it? Like, you know, they have a way to throw a funk on something. And I'm like, no, I'm not alleging anything. I'm asking you a fact and you won't tell me. That's strange. And that's why I think a lot of these people are, they're not only are they not changing, they're going to double down because they're super pissed off.
There is
Yeah.
a lot of sadism, I feel like I see in general. If they see something happening to someone, they're like, oh, this immigrant was, he was deported. They're like, oh, well, Trump supporting immigrant did this. Like, good for you. Like, good. Like, you voted for, like, a lot of, like, kind of rage, which is not something I like from any side at all, because whenever I see it, I'm always like, ooh.
I just think it escalates. Violence begets
It
violence.
does.
And I
It
think
does, yeah.
that the people who, like, let's put it this way. Let's say you've been in your career 15, 20 years, and you are 1 year into a 4-year bid. You're like, I could weather this. You know what? I like, especially if it's a job you haven't changed in 15 or 20 years. Like, I'm the opposite. I cannot handle. I literally just had not a great income, but like good enough. And I basically nuked my entire book of business because I'm bored. And I do shit like that. And I've been fired from jobs. I've quit jobs. I've moved to cities with no plan, and I just land on my feet. I never soar super high, but like, I make it work. Okay. And if you're like the opposite of me, you can hold your breath for like you've had bosses you fucking hated before, you've seen a friend get fired once or twice. Like, you say you're going to stay in touch. You go to that one happy hour and you guys never talk is what you do. And these people are mentally tough in a way that I am not, that I respect. They have a stomach for drudgery, unlike other people. They're bureaucrats, or they're like professional apparatchiks. And I think that if they just need to hold their breath another 3 years, they're all looking and winking at each other now, I feel. And they are going to seek very swift revenge. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it seems to be a race between like, all right, can we wait you out, or can we just like, like the Doge stuff, can they just tear the copper out of the wall so it's not going to matter? So, and as somebody who doesn't like, track super hard to, one side of like the extremes there or another, I'm just like, it's a little concerning. I still want like the walls to have structural integrity, so to speak. So we'll see what happens. I guess I'm hoping not, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was more political violence in 2026.
Well, yeah, because I don't think that the woke backlash, especially beyond 2026, even when, we have like the really angry, quieter woke people right now come back with their revenge, I don't think the woke backlash will be over yet. So that political violence, I would agree that's gonna continue, like we've seen a lot of it already this year. But I think that's definitely gonna continue and ramp up, especially between like people we don't expect it to happen with, like on a more, I don't know, local level, a smaller level, like between, I don't know. I mean, because like the person who killed Charlie Kirk was just an unknown kind of rando, just more stuff like that where people just want to fuck it all. I don't have any hope for the future, and just go make a name for themselves in that way, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see that.
I mean, one of the things is like the disincentives are not in place. If you want to get rid of something, you better disincentivize it. And the type of guy who's doing this stuff is totally willing to get the death penalty or go to prison for life. And so there's this thing where like someone needs to upset the balance in some kind of way. Like people were talking about the news should stop reporting on this stuff. I don't think that's a solution. Everyone's so conspiratorial now. They're going to think that like they them is like withholding information, like Big Brother, and they're going to just they're already making up shit, but it'll be a lot worse, I think, if the government or the press are actively suppressing information that normal citizens are used to knowing already. But they like, one of the things is like there's this paradox where the right is way more armed than the left, and yet when you see the preponderance of the violence, it appears as though it's more successful coming from the left. And so this wouldn't check out initially. But my theory is this. more pressure is applied to the right, for whom there is way less tolerance for doing anything that approximates gangster-ass terrorist type activity, versus like you could be like, I don't know, a trust fund kid in Antifa and LARP with guns and shit all you want. And basically people always think you're harmless until you're not. And so like we don't have a good immune system like societally, because we're used to this like kind of skewed version of history where we're looking at like the guys who drive pickup trucks and have guns because they're the usual suspects, and people like have not updated their processing into like the 21st century. Not that there's no left-wing violence from the 20th century, by the way, but I'm just saying
I
that,
can think
like,
of a few examples.
Yeah.
they're using like a vibe to figure this out, and so they never find a way of like stopping and frisking the like Antifa type kid. They always pull someone who looks like me out of line, which like
Yeah.
we're always the first people to go, yeah, no problem, look in my back, whatever.
Well, especially because I think it's a myth that is believed by both sides in different ways. I mean, I know so
Yeah.
many right-wing people like, yeah, just one more, keep pushing us, brother. We're going to rise up. And it's like, what year do you think it is? Like,
Total coke.
yes, you have guns, but like, okay, there's like drones and stuff now. Have you been paying attention? Not even
There's
what's happening
Palantir
in,
and
yeah,
there's a
Palantir and
Lucky
drones.
would love
Yeah,
rotisserie.
put what's going on in Ukraine aside. Look at like Vietnam, and people like to say, maybe in some ways America lost, but it was never like defeated on the battlefield. It was just like there wasn't a good objective. Like, if you look at the casualties, like and that was the jungle, you could carpet bomb the holler if you needed to. Like, let's get real here. In the same way, like I don't think that like, right-wing domestic terrorists, I don't think it's a threat any more than like, I remember when I was coming up, like, these Islamic domestic terrorists. It's like, okay, there were like a half a dozen people, and half of them were like, groomed by feds.
So that's true. Yeah, that is true. That they love to find a kid who doesn't have all his marbles and take advantage of them. But there is, so I don't know all the details yet. I don't think they really even have a suspect, but a woman just got acid thrown on her face down in Savannah. Yeah, she was like 40-something-year-old mother, and some guy just rolled up on her and threw it on her, and her clothes started disintegrating immediately, and she's in deep shit. But there, and I mean, this was not in the States, but there was this thing at Bondi Beach over the weekend, and this could or could not be like a real threat. Like I don't think it's like, I don't know all the dynamics of like how cells work, or this is not my forte, like terrorism. But like, what do you do about a bunch of random dudes if they're not in communication and they're just all like, violence is fun and a good idea, I'm going to do it. Like that's, it can look like a network. They can have the same goals. They can believe the same shit. But if they've never met each other and don't know about each, like, this stuff gets like hard. It's like, it's just hard to grasp. And so, but my point being is like, there's nothing to looking at like who historically commits violence. But my point is the left has committed a fuck ton in this country, but it's totally retconned out of history.
And, even now, like, just strictly anecdotally, like I know people who, 10 years ago or 5 years ago literally said they don't think civilians should ever have guns. But right now they're asking my husband for advice on which one to buy for themselves, So
sure.
It's interesting. Like there's, people openly deciding like, well, fuck this, I'm going to arm myself because I feel existentially threatened. By the current politics, and these are all hardcore left wingers, who would call themselves communists or whatever. So.
I definitely wonder. This isn't so much political, but I do wonder if this is the next year is the year where we're going to see a lot more physical fan violence or like stuff from online feuds escalating into the real world. There was a woman in Vancouver who was in court with an online foe, and she basically attempted to kill her like at the courthouse over like online feuds. So I feel like that can definitely start escalating. And that is a problem too, because it's the random nature of it. And like, it's not connected to anything. It's just these like isolated relationships that become incredibly fraught. Right.
We haven't had like I mean, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that the last celebrity sort of assassination, like, you know, like entertainer style, I mean, wasn't that like, God, I remember Selena being a big deal when I was like in elementary school. And of course, there was John Lennon before that. But have we had that recently? Like someone
Bill
like who was just
Hartman.
oh, right. Well, he
Well,
had
that's
a crazy.
by-
No, that was his wife, wasn't it?
Well, I was going to say Rob Schneider.
Okay. But
But like, I'm talking about like a crazy fan of some sort, because Selena
Well, when I
was
say
murdered by a
fan
crazy
violence,
fan.
I mean against one another,
Oh,
not against.
because I was going to say
Yeah,
Rob
I mean,
Reiner and Phil
Yeah,
Hartman
yeah.
was family members.
Yeah,
like
they weren't.
gangland
They weren't
violence,
fans
but-
like John Lennon's.
I mean,
or,
fans
like,
against one
obsessive.
another. I think
Or
there's
just like
going
in
to be.
general, online shit that's not necessarily political people.
Yeah.
blowing
this
up on
is
each
kind
other.
of this is like what drill rap is, right? Like you know, like I show my gun on like Instagram live, and like I do a video outside your apartment complex and call you a pussy, and then like you later do a video outside my apartment complex and you show all your guns, and eventually we go to the same place at the same time and someone starts shooting. But like drill rap is basically all about the beef. Like that's the thing, like is conflict is where it's at. And so, you know, like it's totally possible. I've always joked about like Substack beefs basically being like, you know, drill for like, you know, gentlemen or whatever. But it's for sure. I mean, yeah, people, there's like so many like mentally ill people on this thing. Like what the craziest are like
Not to
the
name
people
names.
the
Not you.
craziest are the people who, yeah, not me. The people who DM you like a crazy amount. Like some DMs are okay. And then there's some people who just go and you're like, what? Like, how did you end up this starved for attention in your life? But the people who have like diarrhea DMs, it's like impressive.
I had one guy once. I said something. I was even like, yeah, I don't think, you know, it's a good idea that porn is as accessible as it is. And he like went on a rant DMing me about how bad it was. And
Oh God,
it's
I
like,
know
dude,
exactly who that
I was
is.
already agreeing with you, and you're like going off on me
Dude.
for not agreeing with you.
I had to
more.
block him. He was so annoying. Jesus.
Are we think? I don't know if we're thinking of the same person. There was one.
I-
I don't even remember who it was. It just happened.
There
There's a
can't
couple
be
people.
more
I don't
than one
remember his
guy that
name.
does this, right? Like,
There's, I mean, the way you describe him is so specific to a guy that I can remember that like, even I was like, dude, I don't even disagree with you, but he wanted to insert that into every conversation and he would DM me too.
Mhm.
And eventually I was just like, all right, I can't.
Mhm. I've had
there's
to block
something
people.
really dark. There's something dark in that person, right? Like they're covering up like for something.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what
Yeah.
you gotta assume that, you know. It's hard
Well,
not
that
to.
that kind of makes me think of at least one more thing I wanted to get to as far as like AI and censorship and all this stuff. I wonder if, again, like, is there going to be a crackdown on social media? Because now there's the tools to actively monitor for keywords and stuff like that. Because I remember reading like part of the way LLMs were developed, at least in some contexts, was like after, I think it was like the Arab Spring or something like that, and they were trying to monitor for certain words and terms being used. I wonder if we're going to see more social media censorship, but in a more covert way.
Right.
Because especially when you're talking about, I hadn't even heard of what drill raps, whatever that is. Like,
Yeah.
it feels like stuff like that just should, you know, probably shouldn't allow that. Like in the abstract, okay, free speech, but stuff like that. Like, again, this is like Radio Rwanda type shit. Where like I don't use Twitter. Like I got an X because like, all right, I'm gonna try in 2026. I'm gonna really show myself, and I'll like cross post my stuff on X. And every time I do, it's like, you know, I keep on saying Radio Rwanda. And if, you know, if you guys or the audience doesn't know, the long story short is there is like before the Rwandan genocide, all these like insane like racial tirades that they used to like get people all riled up about racial tensions, and it like resulted in the genocide. And that's kind of what X feels like, but just in like every direction. And I just can't go on there for that reason. Every time I like it, there's just like all this like inflammatory content about every group. It's like this can't be good for society as a whole, you know?
For sure.
But does it make money?
Yeah, that's the point. I mean, like you can Holocaust
make
denial
money?
makes money, I guess. If there's a lot of it on X from what I've seen.
No, but I'm
Yeah.
saying like, is X profitable? Like, does it actually make money or not?
That's a good question because I know OpenAI
Oh yeah, I
is
don't know anymore.
Like, something that I think gets lost on a lot of Americans because like we don't have any official royalty here is that like there are some wealthy people who are just willing to own assets that are basically like a huge money suck. And that's part of the flex, right? Like if you own a I know someone who like some years ago, they had to connect to a chateau in like the country in France. Beautiful. It was only like $1 million. So like that's a lot of money to us, but there's like some people who like that's nothing, right? Especially for like a sick estate. Like what's the problem? It's probably like, I don't know, like 150 to 250K a year in upkeep. You got to heat the place, you got grounds, you're just signing up for like, and like everything is going to break at some point. It's going to be some like medieval ass architecture. You're going to need to find someone who knows how to like doctor it, whatever. It's all a huge hassle. And I think that like people miss that like you could just own Twitter and lose money forever if you're like Elon, if you want to. You could do that. But if you can control the discourse, you have such a profound power that's like so beautiful. Like I just have like my little thing going, but I listened to someone else's podcast today and their guest was saying how they were like listening to my podcast a lot. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like they're like, there was no like shot. They were just like, oh yeah. Like they just stated it as a fact. And what I like to do is, some of my stuff is like not that profound, but sometimes I think I have a good insight and I try to put it into the Geist because I like the idea of controlling certain conversations. Not saying no one can talk about other things, but I like the push and pull of forcing people to react to my specific line of questioning. Because I think sometimes they're used to throwing people off their scent, appealing to authority, emotion, red hair, like name the fallacy. And I'm like, out of here. No, let's go back to what we're talking about. And there's a handful of issues that I care about. But what I care about the most is when I think someone's lying to me. And I like to expose it.
Agreed on that one. We have at least one mutual person on our shit list who shall go unnamed because of that type of behavior. No, I think that's I could see. I mean, especially if you're that rich. I don't really know what Elon Musk's game is in that sense, if that's his kink, so to speak, to want to control the dialogue, because it just seems kind of free for all, and maybe that's the idea, just to create chaos. So we can try to pull some sort of coherent, like anybody who can have some kind of coherent narrative coming out of all the craziness. Maybe that's it, but I don't know. That's it'll be interesting to see, because I know like there's a lot of, I think, European countries specifically that are trying to regulate him. And speaking of which, anytime I do go on, I see like he's really pushing like anti-EU type of European man rise up type stuff. So maybe that's the game, to try to keep them from regulating X. I don't know.
I'm just I don't know that I want it to go one way or another, but it would be very interesting if it really loses a lot more ground, because there's so many businesses, and by which I include like celebrities, like human brands that exist on Twitter to communicate with people. Like it's such a hub for all of that. And And whether it makes money for Elon is one question, but the people who participate, if they've paid in, like if they get advertising money, like they do make money off of that. And I think it's the type of thing where they'll engage in behavior that is probably destructive for, the world at large, if it's still profits, if it's still good for them too.
I agree with that, but I guess my point is like Elon controls whether they can do that or not too. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
So
and
he's
the
like
new rules.
Mhm.
The new rules, they basically say like we can deactivate you for whatever reason we want. And I'm like, well, at least it's honest, because I was permanently suspended for no reason for a while. Like there literally wasn't like an actual reason. And like it took 8 months, and then I was like, oh my God, I'm back on Twitter. Like it's now working again. This is so weird. But at least at this point, they're like, yeah, we can just do it if we want. So
yeah, well, that's I guess that's pure monarchism, so to speak. Really, it's that whoever's it's good to be the king, because one of the main rules seems to be like no making fun of Elon Musk.
It's kind of sort of property rights. Look, so I worked in gyms for a long time. And something that happens is you got to kick people out of gyms. And you have so many good like, you don't do it to random people. It's always someone doing something they're not supposed to be doing, right? It's like someone trying to do personal training under the table when that's a service you charge for, and you're like, fuck you, go build your own gym if you want to do this. It'll be like some guy who's like trying to get frisky in the steam room, someone's recording, whatever. The thing is, all of the things that are really, really bad behavior are really easy to just lie about and try to use social pressure and like someone's empathy to get them to think like, oh, you weren't just doing that terrible war crime over there in the corner. You know what I'm saying? And so if you put a clause in the contract that's like, we just reserve the right to term your contract at any point for any time, sometimes it becomes so much more useful than getting into an argument for 45 minutes in the lobby about whether someone was trying to give someone a hand job involuntarily, it's just so much easier. And especially with any marketing or promotional shit, people will try to bully you around and be like, well, you were offering this discount last week. And to just be able to say, look, that was last week. I know you think you're going to argue your way out of this, but you're not. And like, basically, you can like it or love it, but we're not doing this for you. It's much easier if you just go full, like the people who own the thing decide the rules, property rights. It's so much easier than getting into arguments with bad actors.
Yeah, well, I mean, that makes sense. So I think we're probably pretty close to 2 hours. So does anybody have any closing thoughts or closing predictions for 2026 or wisdom going into the new year?
Well, I was thinking about the recent Cinnabon lady who like crashed out and got fired on camera. And then how, if you haven't heard about this, I don't know, I watched the video and it was a little
Shiloh Hendricks
confusing.
situation.
Yes, exactly. I don't remember her name, but she worked at Cinnabon, and apparently she had like a really shady background. I don't know. She got arrested. It's mostly just like this trend of what seems like kind of trailer trashy, like low class women just like crashing out and being super racist. And like not giving a fuck. Like the Cinnabon lady, like her main picture is her just being like this, like I am throwing up my middle fingers to the audience listening and not watching, but just not giving a fuck, you know what I mean? I wonder how much more of that we're gonna see, because like this is like a certain class of people who I don't know if we really pay that much attention to on a regular basis, and now they're just kind of like, it's like Cookie Monster PJ Pants girl, you know what I mean? Just like going off the rails. I just wonder how much more of that we're gonna see.
I made the point that like good luck finding someone to work at Auntie Anne's who like isn't dropping a few N-bombs here and there. Right. Like there's a thing of like, if you just turn cameras in a certain direction, you could like predict on a long enough timeline. Like say what you want about Goldman Sachs, they're probably not talking like that there. Just
right.
Like theorizing. I know
Probably
people
not.
think that's like the center of hell, but like they still have like HR there, right? And
Mhm.
I think that like this sets up a really bad perverse incentive where like people are going to start being like, well, I make $7 an hour at this job. But if I say the N word on camera, I'm gonna
I'll
get a
get a GoFundMe
GoFundMe
and
for
250
like
grand
60K
instantly.
tomorrow. And like this is not a good long-term strategy for any party.
No.
I'm going to say that there's going to be at least, maybe not 2026, maybe 2027, somebody who's just, it's going to be like a scam type of thing. We're like, all right, let's go halfsies on this. I'll start yelling at you. You call me a racial slur.
100%. Yeah.
We'll start a GoFundMe. We'll split it.
He had to give away
Yeah,
the
I
secret.
think
Now we can't like do this. Everyone's going to be on
this
it.
this is my prediction. I predict we haven't seen the last of these and that there will be copycats. And there's
Yeah.
going to be copycat N-bomb ladies at all your favorite like Chipotle, like Starbucks, like you pick a place that you
The
love.
Bob Evans waitress.
There's a lady willing to get caught on camera saying some really foul shit. And I'm worried, like, what if people get so inoculated to this that they're just like the same way you talk about a certain kind of person who's a barista, you're just like, oh, I'm gonna go to that place again. And they're like, oh, and they're like, yeah, well, like the hibiscus tea is real good. So like I get it. But like where they're just trying to get on camera and no one will take the bait. So you're just hearing racial slurs everywhere, but like everyone's pretending it's not happening.
The double down of rage bit. Yeah.
We turned Starbucks into Twitter. Like everyone's just going to the drive-through moving forward. They're like, I'm good. No, we don't need to sit. It's okay.
Yeah. On that note, I have one final prediction. I think we're going to see one more major black celebrity go full Kanye.
Oh,
Do you have any predictions of which one yet?
Nobody specific, but that seems to be in the air right now.
Hold on. Can we stipulate that we do not count Candace Owens if she decides to go full
say.
No,
hotep?
like somebody
Because I feel like that's
otherwise
too borderline already.
No, I think it's probably safe to say Candace Owens has already gone full Kanye.
mhm.
I know somebody who is like otherwise well liked and respected is going to say something, or something is going to surface from the past. Because that seems to be in the air right now.
Juicy.
Not quite Morgan Freeman, but like somebody who is like like a basketball player.
You
or
heard it
like
here
that.
first.
Yeah, like Michael Jordan will suddenly come out as like a super anti-Semitic guy or something. Like,
yeah. Well, Jay-Z
just lean
said some
into it.
really anti-Semitic shit like back in the 2000s,
Did
if
he?
I recall correctly. Yeah. But
You could, before the internet, you could just tell anyone. You'd be like, "Yeah, that guy's a huge anti-Semite." Like, I'm positive my family did this 1,000 times, having no clue even who they're talking about.
Yeah,
Man, I feel like the internet really the internet made it possible to spread like a certain amount of disinformation quickly. But I feel like before the internet, you could spread like really niche misinformation, and you could narrowcast and just hit like one or three people.
Your Joe Rogan was your older brother.
Yeah. You
So
could
just
just
say the
totally
most crazy
socially
shit.
you could socially engineer any situation just by lying. And now it's like really hard to lie in a way that's convincing.
Or at least you have to lie in a way that's more sensational, because you got Joe Rogan saying all sorts of crazy shit about aliens, and it's hard to keep up with.
Yeah.
And loving AI music.
Mm-hmm.
He loves AI music apparently.
Oh yeah, and something about like he thinks Jesus is going to be AI or something. Like I've been like very like Joe Rogan agnostic for a long time. But it's like, damn, Joe, that's. I think that's enough edibles and elk meat for you, buddy. Maybe chill for a little
Edibles
bit.
and elk meat.
That's how you get to Agartha, folks. Edibles and elk meat.
That's his memoir name in the future.
Monia, do you have a prediction? Anything to throw out for 2026?
I mean, it's funny. This might seem to be in contrast with yours, but I feel like we're due for a celebrity to become an actual politician. Because we've seen the fan of politics a lot, but I feel like we're overdue now. Like, yes, Trump is the president, but he's been around for way too long. Like fresh blood. I think there's
like an actor or something like that.
Yeah, I'm thinking actor, but maybe it'll be a musician. I don't know.
Lizzo.
I also
I
wonder.
could see like Matthew McConaughey or something like running for
People have been
president.
floating that for a while.
That's a good.
I would like
call.
to see Benson Boone do like a congressional run somewhere in Texas.
I think he's still too young for that. I think he's still in his early 20s.
Is he a real person? He looks like he's straight out of a lab.
Is that an AI musician?
As far as I know, he's a real person.
Okay.
Dude, this guy's a total psyop. The only thing I know two things about him, two details. One, backflips. He does a backflip every performance, and there's like infinity pictures of it. Number two, every person who's ever mentioned him to me is a closeted gay man.
Is this like a Timothy Chalamet character? I just googled him.
They were like,
I wish I were you, PJ.
And I was like, why? I was like, who is he? And like, I didn't want to call them out when I heard what the music is. Like, they made it sound like a metal musician I just never heard of. And I was like, why the fuck would I know who that guy is? And I'm like, oh, because like you're lying about who you are.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm googling him right now. He looks like Timothy Chalamet, but like slightly
jacked.
Well, I wouldn't say jacked. He's slightly.
The backflips is a Mormon thing, which I learned.
He's a Mormon
through Instagram. Yeah, I believe
this
so.
does not debunk my other theory about this man.
This is now a Benson Boone podcast, folks.
Oh no, I'm not saying that.
You heard it here first.
All right, I'm gonna check into this guy.
And Benson Boone is super gay.
All right. No, this has been fun. Anybody got any final wisdom to give to the audience for 2026? Are we ending with Benson Boone, gay Mormon, Timothy Chalamet?
In the related train, but with a slightly better flavor in the mouth. I want to see the American Katy Perry Trudeau pairing. So, the politician is going to hook up with like
they could bring peace. Katy Perry for president. Justin Trudeau comes back. That's what unifies America and Canada.
Oh my God!
We get over our
something to look forward to at last. We can get rid of Trudeau. He'll be in your White House.
Oh, great. Here we go. Well, monkey's paw curls, I suppose. Yeah, I don't have anything else. Everybody have a good 2026. RIP to 2025. Been real. Be safe, be happy. Yeah. Take it easy, everybody.
Later.
See ya.